Everybody, welcome to Backyard Blue.
2.0.
Yes, sir. Just two brothers talking sports and whatever else comes our way. I'm brother number one by birth order anyway. I'm Blake Miller. Students call me Mr. Miller. Mama calls me Moose. We don't know why. It's okay. On the other side of the screen is my brother from the same mother. Brother number two, the hunt dog, the hunt daddy, the head hunter. My daughter calls him Hump. Hey, Hump. No traveling
What's
this week?
going on? I was supposed to be in Wichita. I had to change of plans, so I'm actually home for the week. So now I just got the next
Can you
3
hear?
weeks on the road. So
Oh, man. Can you hear the word Wichita without
I'm
singing
going
Seven
to
Nation Army?
Wichita. Now,
Exactly.
when that song came out, that's when we did one of our big basketball tournaments was in Wichita, Kansas. I remember that song came out like 3 weeks before we went out there.
Man, that's a top five favorite song ever for me.
Oh, and probably like the best live, like for live sporting events, the best song to get the
Oh
crowd
yeah,
going. Like hands down, that's the best one. And then when Pat McAfee came out to it at WrestleMania last year, I was hoping that was going to be his theme song
me
moving
too.
forward. That'd have been cool.
I think "Going to Wichita" is the only song, the only part of the song that our mom actually knows.
Yeah,
Probably, yeah.
probably
She
so.
says it all the time. Whenever we talk about the song, is that the Wichita song? Yes, Mom. That's
That's
right.
it. That's it.
I'm going to Wichita. All right. So today we're going to catch up on all the things we missed from the last week in sports. So much has happened since we last talked. I mean, so much. Some of it good, some of it not so good. The Grizzlies have been ultra depressing. The Tigers blew a game against Tulane. How? Sean Payton was hired. D'Amico Ryans was hired. Tom Brady retired. And somebody sold some sand for like $100,000 from the beach he retired on. That's crazy. Don't forget AJ Green. He retired. And a young man named Kyrie Irving, who may or not be older than me, got traded. Big stuff. We'll
There's a
talk about
lot that
those things
happened.
today. Dude, that's a lot. That's like a month worth of stuff in 1 week. We'll talk about those things today and then close the show with some random questions. So, what did I miss? If you lived under a rock last week and you thought the Grizzlies were going to be good at basketball again after beating the Pacers and Jaren beat the case last Sunday night, man, you were dead wrong. The Grizzlies had another winless week. Womp, womp, womp. Losers of 3 straight now. And it just feels like all the storylines out of the Grizzlies, it's poor. It's nothing's good right now. Total bad vibes, negative energy around the whole thing. I mean, we've gone from a fan base living on the moon to one in despair. What are your thoughts on them losing 3 straight?
Ooh, it's I don't know every game that we walked into before this little 8 of 9 stretch that we've lost, you kind of felt like you were going to win every game. We'd come out in the third quarter, you know, start a blowout, you get up 20 points, fourth quarter, maybe you bring your starters back for a few minutes, but then bench players in with 4 minutes left. And I know Steven Adams is out, but this started back before Steven Adams went out. Like they had that bad 3 or 4 game stretch before he went out, but it's I don't know, there's just something weird going on. And I don't, we had the job mess, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but there's something going on. I don't know if I remember Tony Allen saying that when the trade deadline came around, he would have his phone in his pocket waiting for a notification that he just got traded. And so I wonder if
Mm.
there's some of that going on in the locker room, especially with everybody talking about Dylan Brooks and how bad he's been for the
Oh,
past month. And I wonder if there's a little bit of, does he know he's being talked about in trade rumors? Are the trade rumors real? Like he's got to have that in the back of his mind because he was a totally different player the past 8 games. He just didn't have the same fire. So maybe we get through the trade deadline, get to the All-Star break. It looks like they're just mid-season woes, and hopefully that's it. But it's I don't know. You just can't put your finger on what's going on. It just seems like they're not the same high energy team that they've been for the past 3 years.
It really reminds me of Ja's first season. That was the bubble year, right? And I
Yep.
felt like they had this ability to like just play teams really close and like just hang with good teams despite not actually being one themselves. And the way they've played has reminded me of that year where it's like, man, we're hanging with whoever it is a really good team. And I'm watching like we're rookies playing ball. Like I mean, like there's a bunch of young guys out there just hoping to hang in the game. And man, I don't know. It's just something's different. I'm with you. They're struggling to close games. I miss blowouts when they would just beat the mess out of everybody. And it's just not. It hadn't been that way. I'm really thankful for that 11 game win streak because it's really propped up. I mean, it's really helped them out during this long
Yep.
run of just poor play. They're still in second
Yep.
place, so I guess it's not all doom and gloom. You take second place in the East. I mean, the second place in the West. If I told you what the record would be today, you'd probably be okay with it. And if at the very
Absolutely.
least the seed, they're still second. It's not all bad. There's been some good things to come out of it. We'll get to those later. But the biggest story, I think, in the last week, and it's already been talked about a lot in local media, but is of a guy, Dylan the Villain. I'm gonna call him Dylan the Nard Puncher now. He decided to swing his fist into Donovan Mitchell's nards last week. Seemed like a great idea, like wrestling on a trampoline, but they weren't. They were playing an NBA basketball game. Proceeded to lead to like what is an NBA fight with air quotes around it. Not a real fight, but a lot of pushing and shoving. Some really harsh words from Donovan Mitchell after the game. Do you have a take on the Dylan Nard Puncher thing?
Not really. Not anything different than I think what most people said in the local media, because the national media just made it out like, oh, this was on purpose. This is what he does because that's what Donovan Mitchell said afterwards. But um, I do think he did it on purpose. I don't think he meant to hit him there. I thought at first it was dirty because he rolled up on his ankle. Like that's what I was looking at for the
Yeah.
first 5 minutes. I didn't notice until I got on Twitter that he actually got him in the nard. So um, I had the sound off or no driving or something. So I didn't see it in real time. But um, yeah, I don't know. It just they say he's a dirty player. He's never really had like flagrant fouls or like I don't think he's dirty. I think he plays with an edge that most people in the NBA don't nowadays. So it seems more aggressive, but I don't think he's a dirty player. But I think sometimes his aggression and his competitiveness turns into almost like the Grayson Allen thing where he just does something just reactionary. Like he and doesn't even think about it. I think that's kind of what that was. Like he was so frustrated, he didn't get a call. He's been terrible for a month, and it's just like, this is what I'm going to do. Um, I don't know. I still have the same opinion of Dylan Brooks as I've always had. That didn't change anything.
Yeah. It didn't change anything for me either, but I do kinda feel like I had this what if moment earlier, like, what if the last shot that Dylan takes as a Grizzly is his fist to Donovan Mitchell's nards? Maybe he doesn't play tomorrow night, and then we got a game Friday. We go, and somebody else there, and his last shot is actually punching Donovan Mitchell in the nards. That seems like it would be I don't know, the ideal end, like, in terms of just kinda putting the bow summing up of what Dylan Brooks' run was like here. He's really responsible in a lot of ways for the kind of culture they've created, and like some of it's good, some of it's not. I do think that he's the only guy on our team who, when that happened, that you would automatically think that it was on purpose. Like I think if anybody else on the team did it, it'd be like, oh, that was totally an accident. Maybe Adams. Adams seems like he might be a nard puncher, but you probably wouldn't catch him. Dude. He's probably going to find a way to hide it. Hey, bring your notes around here, mate. Going to get him, maybe. And then probably say the F
Could
word
be.
about 15 times after that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he was. Yeah, he's the most likely on our team to do that. But the whole dirty player, like if you go back, he doesn't like the Gary Payton thing is coming off that. So I think that's why he's labeled a
Yeah.
dirty player. If that didn't happen last playoffs, this wouldn't be a thing. Like, it would just been like, oh, they made a mistake, move on. But because of the Gary Payton thing last year, now he looks like a dirty player.
I always thought Grayson wasn't a dirty player either, but he did develop a reputation and kinda leaned into it a little bit. It just seemed like a pattern of behavior, like, just All right, we gotta make sure we're not doing this kind of stuff. Someone needs to have that chat with Dylan, whether it's here or on his next team, whenever that may be. Um, it's kind of exhausting, the whole thing. And this is just the beginning. Like this was by by today. It was like the third or fourth crazy thing that had happened, and I'd almost forgotten it. And like that would have been one of the bigger negative storylines of last year. But that leads into the whole like Ja entourage story. That comes out yesterday before the Raptors game. It breaks that he's not going to play, and shortly after the story comes out, and it's that basically the Pacers accused Ja's entourage of pointing a laser at them, which I'm guessing is going to be from a laser scope. They, said they were in grave danger, and I had it put this way: they didn't call the cops. There were no police called, but they had time to call the Athletic. I don't know, man. Like it's just something about the story feels fishy. Maybe it's rose-colored glasses looking at it. I do think there's lessons to be learned here for Ja. Like you got to tighten up. Like your name's on the line. You've got to make sure that like these kind of stories can't come out with you. You've got the bag. You've got the shoe. Like you are one of the faces of the NBA. You're beloved. Like I got a class full of fifth graders with his jersey, always wanting to know. I mean, I had a fourth grade teacher ask me the other day to write her math problems about John Moran because her kids are super fans. Well, those kids read this story; they're going to have access to it. Like, what kind of message does it send to them? And a lot of times, it's just reading the headline. Like, nobody's going to go through and click through and read the story and think, okay, there's something a little phony about this whole thing. But his name is attached to it, even though he wasn't involved. His name is still attached to it. Like, I really think that this is a chance to I don't know, just tighten the strings a little bit and just be a little more careful with your image going forward. When you're as good as he is, you have to protect those things. What were your thoughts on that story?
Yeah, it's I mean, stupid. Like even to have yourself in that position is just stupid. Um, but then you think about it, you know, he's 23 years old, and he's about to have an extension kick in where he's going to be making what 35-40 million dollars a year, something like that. And I know if you handed me that type of money at 23 years old, I'm probably not making the best decisions. And I think there's a part of him that everything has been good. He's the darling. He's got the shoe coming out. He's kind of becoming the young face of the NBA. Like maybe I'm bigger than all this, and I won't get in trouble. And I could see like somebody having a laser pointer and playing a joke, but that's not a joke. You know what I mean? Like if you're scaring somebody's life, and that's not funny. But I could see as a 23-year-old something like that. I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny. Just not thinking about more than what it is, right? Um, so I think just being 23 years old, immature, and he's around a bunch of immature people. But on the team, like we don't have veterans. His friends are the same age. They're going out and doing what 23-year-olds do. So I think he'll learn. I think the bar's been set with LeBron. He came in the league and never got in trouble and was like this perfect guy. But that's the one. Like everybody else goes through stuff and have that much fame that young. It's tough. But I think learn from mistakes and move forward. And hopefully these bad stories are out of the news soon.
I really hope so. I think he can stay positive going forward. His on-court play is what I think ultimately people pay the most attention to, and that's not going anywhere. At least I don't think so. I did read yesterday, like a lot of people were comparing him to like Allen Iverson, and like talk about kind of the off court stuff that he dealt with throughout his career. Some of it before he came into the league. We need an entire podcast to talk about the stories of Allen Iverson. But the difference is like Ja's not been involved in the same kind of stuff that Iverson was involved
No.
in. Like his stuff was far more severe. But people were talking about him yesterday, kind of similarly, and I think that's probably just a knee jerk, instant reaction that fans feel they have to have about these types of things. My gut just kept saying like, okay, this is a story that seems worse than it is, but there's at least smoke. So there's probably some sort of fire here. And at the very least, it's a lesson to be learned for Ja going forward. This kind of stuff can't happen. Like, just bottom line, it can't happen. It's something that just absolutely cannot happen. Um, his name's attached to it. You just have to be careful when you're in that kind of position. Um, All right, that's the two bad stories. I think the worst, I mean, along with the on-court play of the team, which has just been brutal. Another interesting note here was that Zaire Williams got sent to the hustle today. Now, I don't know if this is a long-term thing. I don't know what kind of message this sends, but did you have any thoughts when you saw that Zaire was going to play for the hustle?
Yeah, just like more details. Maybe it's just to get more practice time or whatever. Like, there's times where maybe the NBA team's not having practice, but they can go down and run fives or something with the hustle, and you have to just designate that. But I mean, he hasn't been good. So if it's for a long term, it's a long term thing. Maybe it's just, hey, you need more run, and you're not getting enough run with how you've been playing. Like, you're hurting the team. So let's go figure it out. Do you need to get in a rhythm? Is your knee still bothering you? Or are there things we got to work through? Like, um, so him playing more basketball, kind of like the James Wiseman thing um, in Golden State. He just hadn't played. When he was at Stanford, it was the COVID season, and he was hurt last year some, and he did play a lot, but he was still a rookie, not getting big minutes, and he really hadn't played much this year. Maybe it's just one of those things. Hey, just go play, get your legs under you, and let the game slow down a little bit. And if that's what happens, cool. Um, I haven't sold my Zaire stock, but we're starting to think about it.
Yeah, it's at least, like, in the question mark pile, whereas, I don't know, last year you really felt like it was gonna be a big thing with him taking this leap forward, but, like, in reality, like, second-year guys don't take those kinda leaps in the NBA anymore. It's not typical. Desmond Bane is the exception, not the rule. It used to be that the second year was a big jump, but now it seems to be the third year. It seems like it's like if a rookie comes in and plays well year 1, a lot of times they regress back because the league has a scouting report on them, and
Yeah,
you
but
see
I
it.
don't think you
Like, do you
like.
adjust or do you not?
Yeah, but it. I think he just can't do anything right now.
No.
Like, I think it's not even he's the same as last year, because you would take what he gave you in the playoffs. Like, he was good in the playoffs last year in his minutes, and so you were kind of looking at that going, oh, if he builds off those playoff minutes, he'll be good. We'll have a good role player. Um, but I mean, it's not a step back. Like, he's taken 3, 4, 5 steps back. Like, he's unplayable. And I get that,
I agree.
this guy could be so dynamic, and this is what we've looked for since, honestly, since like Rudy left. And Rudy at the end of the Grizzlies thing was what it was. But like, that was the prototypical, like, this is what we got to go get, this 6'9", 6'10" small forward that can shoot, dribble, play make, and defend. And I'm sorry, he's just got the one positive of being 6'10". Like, the rest ain't
Yeah, it's
there.
just height.
Yeah.
That's it. He's in the, TFN territory, the all for nothing territory that Tony likes to label, and
Like, Santi
I didn't
is
realize
so
this.
much better than him.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize this, but he's actually now a sub 30% three-point shooter for his career, and they view him as a 3 and D guy. You just can't have that out there. You're right, he is unplayable right now. I think it's good to go send him down for some inconsequential, game action. But, like, I guess what I wanna know is, like, and I'm probably not gonna know this, they're not gonna show these kind of things, like, is this a signal of what's gonna happen Thursday with him? I don't think they can count on him as a key member of this rotation going forward. Maybe he can work it out. I guess Tillman went down, got some run when he wasn't playing and came back up, and he's actually been pretty valuable even though they've lost these games. It helped him.
You know what this makes me think, though,
What's that?
is you wouldn't send him to the G League if he was a trade piece,
Yeah,
because the the look of it is this guy's not playable, and so that's going to hurt trade value, right? So does that just point in a direction of them maybe not doing as much, or was he never going to be on the table for a trade because they believe in him? But he's a young player that you would think 3, 4 weeks ago, or coming off the playoffs last year, like a pretty valuable. That's basically a first round pick, right? Like, you're trading a first round pick if you put him in a trade, but you can't send him to the G League if he's a part of a trade coming up this week. That just, or you're hoping he's a part of a trade, that kills all value. So I hadn't really thought about that till just now, but maybe that points to what I said last week. I don't think they're going to do anything at the trade deadline.
it's very possible, and we'll get to that in a minute with trade deadline stuff. Just, make a quick note about it here in a little bit. Now, it wasn't all bad this week. I guess we did get some good positive stories coming out of the week, despite, being surrounded and still with so much negativity and still kind of feeling an overall negative vibe from the whole week of Grizzlies basketball. Most of it not on the court, although the on-court product was not great either. Not all of it was bad, though. We finally got to see the Grizz debut with Danny Green, and the guy can still shoot, but man, he looks like an old guy. He looks old. Have you got any thoughts on watching him play early on?
No, just kind of what we thought. You got to give him 10 games or so before we make any judgment. Um, he's going to hit open shots. He's been hitting open shots for like 15 years, so didn't think that'd be an issue. But it's all about defense. If he's just going to be a spot up shooter that can't do anything else, don't really have time for it, you know.
Exactly.
So, but I do think they're going to see it, and he's another reason. I know we're going to get to the trade thing in a minute. They want to see what they have, and you're not going to see that in the 3 games before the trade deadline. So,
Nope.
but if we're relying on him to be our savior, whoo, not good.
Not great, Bob. Simply put, not great. Now, what was great was seeing John Morant. We knew he was going to make the All-Star team, but we didn't know Jaren was going to. I think this was a surprise. I I would have put him on my 12 just based on his general on-court impact and just his defensive prowess. He would have been in mine, especially if having to put front court players there. I would have put him there over Anthony Davis, just because I do think his on-court impact is pretty impressive. They've been so good with him, and whereas like Anthony Davis, they were just like 2 games above 500 with him. So, and I know the rest of his team is not as good, but still, Jaren's on-court impact is completely undeniable, and I think this is just the beginning for him. I was so excited to see him being named an All-Star. Did you have any seeing him that way?
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked that he was made the All Star team, just because more so for me the missed games, and I guess there's a lot of people at that position that have missed games. But I don't know if I would have had him in. He'd been right there on the line. He's obviously been the best defensive player in the league, so um, you wouldn't leave out as some others have said, you wouldn't leave out the best offensive guy in the league off the All Star game. Like he's going to make it. So kudos to him. It was pretty shocking though. I didn't expect it.
I definitely didn't expect it either, which probably is what made it so exciting. I remember I looked at it and I was like, "Oh my gosh, Jaren made the All-Star team!" Like I got really
Yeah,
pumped up, and I'm
and I think him making the All Star team, he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year.
oh yeah. Somebody said, "Do you think he made the All-Star team because everyone had to go back and watch those 66 home blocks?" And they realized, "Dang, this guy's actually pretty good. It's not
Oh
just a
wow,
tweet and a story. Like he's actually awesome."
yeah. I mean, he's been unbelievable. So like defensively, just defensively, and then he's still good offensively. Like he's still a good offensive player. It's not like Bam Adebayo is not a good offensive player. Like he's strictly like he reminds me a little different, like Dwight Howard, just really good defensively, rebounds the ball, but really no offensive game to him.
He's
That's
a
not
good
Jaren.
passer.
So yeah, he is a very good passer.
Bam,
Um,
not Jaren.
but but Jaren has some game to him. So people being outraged is funny. Like he was right there on the bubble of getting it with 5 other players. If they could have had more guards, he probably wouldn't have made it. But him being a big
Yeah,
man and AD being hurt a little bit, um, I think is what got him in. But awesome for him. Like he works his butt off and he's so much fun to watch on the defensive end. So it's hopefully he doesn't get picked last in the draft that they do.
I had some fans talk to me yesterday. I was talking with a couple people and just kind of mentioning like how rooting for the team feels exhausting because you feel like you're having to defend the Jaw stuff, and, the entourage thing. That you're trying to defend Dylan. And my thought immediately was, well, what about Jaren, man? Like he's just the best guy. I mean, I freaking love that guy. He's so much fun on the court, off the court. He's just such an incredible personality. I mean, I just think he makes everything better. I mean, as a fan, I really enjoyed the other guys too, Desmond Bane. And Ja's still I think Ja's a good guy, just, caught up in a little nonsense. I
Yep,
mean, I just hey, let's point our attention to the guy who earned the All-Star appearance and is doing things the right way on and off the court.
absolutely.
Um, so here's an interesting question. There's a lot of fans right now saying that this losing streak signifies that a trade has to be made, that the Grizzlies are definitely gonna make a trade. This, losing 8 or 9. Obviously, we're not as good as we need to be. Let's make a move. Let's augment this whole thing right now. Let's get better. And I can totally see that. And that's not a nonsense opinion to have. But it made me wonder about the front office. And do they see this bad stretch as a reason to strengthen up and go for it? Or is it a sign to them that this is not the real window? This is not the time. We're really not good enough, even if we add stuff, and we shouldn't give up any future assets. Did you have any take on that?
No, because I don't think they see like certain stretches as like I feel like if you're riding that roller coaster, especially as the people that are running a team, like you're gonna get caught.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
if we had this 11 game winning streak going into the trade deadline, everybody been going, no, hey, we can't break this up. Like we got an 11 game winning streak going on. We're never going to lose again. Go ahead and plan the parade, right? And then you go the other way. You lose 8 to 9, a couple losing streaks in a row, and I don't think they feel the highs and lows. They just stay steady and they look at analytics and they look at um, locker room and fit and what coaches are saying, and they're going to make the best. If they make a deal, they make a deal because it makes the team better for now, but also in the long term. I think that's where when people say we're cashing in, doesn't mean you're mortgaging everything. You got to find something that goes along with this team and their age and where they're going. Um, when people say we're mortgaging everything, no, this is what you're building all the picks for, is to do this, to get somebody that fits into your plan that you can still have a window for the next 5 to 7 years. So, do I think it changed their mind? No, just because I think, like I said, if you're riding the roller coaster throughout a year and you're making decisions based on a 10 game sample size, you're probably making a mistake. So that would be the only reason I think the front office doesn't look at it either way. That we're a contender now or we're not. I think they look at it as, can we make our team better for now and the long term?
They seem to always defy conventional wisdom too. Like, if everybody else is saying, "Let's do this," they might end up doing that, but they're definitely not doing it because people are saying it. Um, I feel like they're definitely the type to be, "We made this decision. We think that we should do this. We're still gonna do this despite the on-court results." Like, they trust themselves as scouts. So until they see things that change their mind, they're probably still stuck with the exact same thing they thought from the beginning. And I really have no idea what to expect. I think they could do the go all in, push the chips to the center of the table and go for it. I really do think they do nothing, like, and just be content to ride this wave out. I think they lose a lot of, like, goodwill that they've built up if they don't do anything, though. And they don't care about that. They're not playing for goodwill, but goodwill helps put butts in seats, and they're right around season ticket renewal time right now. And I think people want to see the window is shifted, for the expectations have shifted for fans. Like, yeah, we're ahead of schedule, but like, now we need a new schedule because we were so ahead of schedule. Well, I think
Yep.
I would say it's more likely that they go for it in some fashion. I've been saying all along, like, I'm probably looking at marginal trades. Like, I've been saying Alec Burks. I've heard people say Alex Caruso. I really like that one. They may even want to go get a backup big from somebody. I like the Gary Trent Jr. idea. Yeah, he's not a big, but I mean, another shooter. I like Malik Beasley, like things that don't cost a whole lot, and don't, we still feel set up for the future, not giving away a bunch of draft picks and stuff, so we can keep this thing rolling for a while. But here's another thing I was thinking about. Somebody made this point the other day. It was like, if we draft guys next year, they're not going to be able to be on the roster. Like, unless we move guys we already have. We don't have enough expiring contracts right now to put the guys we draft next year on the roster. So, like, they're going to get in the situation where it's like, okay, yeah, we got future guys, but like, how many of them are we actually going to keep? They're going to, the movement is coming. If it's not this year, it's definitely next year. That's my thought.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to make a deal at some point. I'll just stick to what I've thought. I hope I'm wrong. I don't think they'll make a move, and they'll make something in the offseason. They make a lot of moves every offseason, and I think it'll be the same way this year. Um, I just don't. Their motive has been not to make in-season trades and in-season deals, and I just think that's probably what's going to happen. Um, again, I hope I'm wrong because I do think all one thing has to break right for you in the playoffs for you to make a run at the title. Like you're the number 2 seed, so you should get to play the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. Like if everything went as chalk, and then it's a toss up, and then every year somebody gets hurt in the playoffs. Something happens, a team upsets another team. You never know what's going to happen. So set yourself up to make that run, no matter what. No matter what they do, if they think they can do that with the current roster, great, because it could happen. But I just hope you got to keep yourself right there on the contending line because you never know when it just breaks your way.
Yeah. I wouldn't punt the whole future, but I would I'd be investing in some things right now. That's just me. I wouldn't
I mean,
go
you'd have to.
all
There'd be
in.
so much stuff you'd have to trade because you're not punting the future. If you got Jaren,
Yeah.
Bane, and Ja, the future's bright regardless.
Yes. I agree. I agree
Everybody
completely.
else, maybe now except for Steven Adams, maybe he's moved himself into the you can't trade him category. I do
Mhm.
believe that. Everybody else on the team can be traded.
I completely agree with
I
that.
have
Even
no
Clark,
attachment. Brandon Clark, don't. If you get better, trade him.
Tyus,
Somebody who plays 15 minutes a game does not make or break your team.
and like Tyus, I think is going to be mentioned in there too. I think it's like you said, it's the core 3 plus Adams. It's Bane, it's Jaren, it's Ja plus Adams. If we have those, I feel like everything else is going to be okay. I
Yep.
mean, I think Roddy's going to work his way in there. It's not this year, but I think next year we're going to see Roddy take a good leap in his second year
He
and be
could be
like,
very
"Ooh,
good, but if
I
somebody
like him."
said, "We'll take him," and you're getting a better
Yeah,
player for right now in the next 4 years, deal.
I agree.
Move on.
I'm with it. I'm with it. I mean, sometimes you have to take those chances like that. Memphis has another
Absolutely.
basketball team. I'm not sure if everybody knows, but the Memphis Tigers are still playing basketball. It didn't go so great this weekend though. Lost to Tulane in overtime, and a game they should have won. Did you? I don't know if you got to
I
watch any of
watched
that.
every minute of it.
Oh, excruciating.
They
What
just
you probably watch more than I do. So why don't you tell us what you thought?
I thought they can it was one of those games they controlled the entire game. Like they were up somewhere between 8 and 12 points or whatever it was, like 8 to 10 the entire game. Um and then just the turnover bugs, they went on one of their little stretches at the end of the first half or the second half where they couldn't score for the last 4 or 5 minutes, and Tulane takes it to overtime. They got up at one point. We kind of came back, goes to overtime, but it's just you let a team hang around that shouldn't have hung around with you. You're controlling the entire game, and you got beat. Um, they're not so talented where they're just going to put teams away. Like every game this year has been a fun 40-minute game because they don't blow anybody out. And there's just going to be these times if they can't score when it matters most, they're going to lose some of these games, and it's the way it's been all year, and probably be the way it goes the rest of the year.
It seems like Kendrick and DeAndre, and then not much else after that. And I think when you have teams that can focus on those guys, like your in conference teams who have now seen those guys over a number of years. I know Kendrick Davis, you saw at SMU, but they're going to have game plans for those guys, and you're going to have third and fourth options step up. And in that game, you just didn't see it. And you still see a lot of the same like poor decision making patterns, especially that late game 3 they took in the corner with 7 seconds to go. I'm sorry, you have to get the last shot there. Like there's no excuse.
Yep.
You have to take the last shot. If it doesn't go in, you have to take it. You have to be the one taking the
Yep.
last shot when you get the ball with 7 seconds. It's a must. You have to do that. Um, I've heard a lot of complaints, like switching to off the court. I've heard a lot of complaints about how the Lorenzen Wright ceremony was handled. I wasn't there, so I can't give a full take on it. But I will say, it did strike me as just being kind of weird. Not that they retired his number. I think that's awesome that he retired his number. He's an icon in this town, and like he was one of my first favorite Tiger basketball players. I love that guy, and seeing he played for the Grizzlies and gave so much of his time to our city, like his number should have been retired. I'm glad Penny fought for that to happen. But it struck me as being kind of strange that they retired his number on Larry Finch bobblehead giveaway day. Like, let's just make it all about Lorenzen. And I heard it was like a 4 or 5 minute thing at halftime. Penny wasn't even out, couldn't be out there for it. Like, it was just completely awkward. I didn't see it. I haven't seen the video of it, but I've just, from people I trust, I heard it was pretty strange, and I don't know. I would just have liked to seen him honored in a bigger way because he deserved it.
Yeah, I don't really have any thoughts. I didn't see it. I did think it was weird the bobblehead giveaway, but aren't they doing like the 73 team or something like that of each a bobblehead of each or something? I heard that. Maybe that's not true. I don't know.
It's something
But
like
maybe it was
that.
just one of the only games you could do it. I don't know.
I'm
Who
like,
who
just
knows? But it makes no sense.
yeah,
Um,
that's it seems like a lot of stuff don't make sense with them. That athletic
yeah, I
department.
did see somebody said the Pouncer has to change his number now because he has 55. So Pouncer's
So
got to
does
get.
Demario Franklin.
Then we got to get some new numbers out there.
How do we retire a number and we still have a guy on the court wearing it? They grandfathered him in. He was a freaking
N-
transfer who hadn't played a game, and they
Nothing,
knew they were going to
nothing like
retire. Like,
remembering Lorenzen Wright by Demar Franklin.
oh my gosh, this
The
is
last
nuts.
one before that was what Gerald? No, what was his name? He played for Pastner's teams. Big muscular guard. Um,
Johnson,
Gerald
Duran,
John, Jerron Johnson. Yeah,
yeah,
he should. Oh, well, Precious wore it too, I think.
I thought he
But
did.
one of those two had to
Somebody
be the
on,
last to wear it. Should have been the last to wear it.
yeah, it shouldn't happen anymore. One more basketball note before we take a break, and this is about Kyrie Irving. I don't know if you heard. I'm sure you did. He was traded yesterday to the Dallas Mavericks, along with Markieff Morris. The full breakdown of the trade is this: Kyrie Irving and Markieff Morris to Dallas for Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, a 2029 first-round pick, and 2 second-round picks. I believe those are in 27 and 29, but who cares about the second-round picks? I'll say that, and then they'll draft like some All-NBA guy. It would be weird. That's just how it goes, right? Contracts, I think it's important to evaluate in this. Kyrie's a free agent at season's end. And I've heard people talk about, like, even if they don't re-sign him, this frees up max space for them to go get somebody else in the offseason. So that's kind of
Or
interesting.
signing trades and all kinds of stuff.
Exactly. With the Nets, they're getting some good value here, I think. Dinwiddie at $18 million, he's got another year left next year. I think that's pretty valuable. And Dorian Finney-Smith was one of those guys that, like, I've coveted as a Grizzlies fan. Like, if I could get him and put him in Dylan's spot and let him play his role that he does so well, like, he's one of those guys who's just a star in his role. He was a good compliment to Luka. I think he's going to be a nice compliment to Kevin Durant if he's still there. His contract's $12 million this year, 13 the next, 14 and 15. He's not an unrestricted free agent until 2026. So, like, they've got somebody in Brooklyn that, like, they really can stabilize their roster for next year. Like, these two guys are going to, be decent players. And, in the East, this at least, like, assures them a play-in spot if they keep those two guys and Claxton and a couple others that they have on the roster. They'll be okay at least, not bum city. Did you have any thoughts on the deal?
Probably, kind of same as you. I think Brooklyn in the long term won the trade. I don't see any way Kyrie's in Dallas next year. This is fully just a rental to clear up cap space, I think. And then maybe if everything, again, those two players, Luca and Kyrie, are all world players, especially one-on-one players. They're unbelievable. So maybe those two catch fire in the playoffs and you can make a run. Like I said, you never know how it breaks, and they keep themselves in contention even with trading those other two. And you just never. Maybe Kyrie falls in love and you keep him for the next few years. But I just don't know how it works. Maybe it spells Luka a little bit where he's not playing 39 minutes a game and holding the ball 39 minutes of the game. So maybe he can actually sit on the bench a little bit, but they're still middle of the pack Western Conference team. So I don't know. It just seemed like Brooklyn got out from under somebody that makes you worse no matter what. If he comes to your team, you're worse. And was just tired of dealing with him and decided, see you later.
I mean, I feel like they got it feels like 70 cents on the dollar, but I think it was actually a pretty good return.
I think it was
And
too.
I mean, I feel pretty good about what they got, and especially if they're keeping Durant. I don't know if they are or not. I'm not really sure. But for Dallas, I look at it as this: like, it feels like a reasonable price to pay for getting a star when you could trade role players for stars, even though, like, the role players are important. But when you can play role players, trade role players for stars, like, you kind of feel like you have to, especially in a situation where I think they kind of feel like the clock is ticking on Luka. there were some murmurs, I believe, before last season, maybe the season before that, but in one season recently where Luka was unhappy and maybe looking to get out of his contract, and it's like, dude, we heard about Luka, we heard about Zion. Teams have to act sometimes with certain superstars like they're on a clock. If they don't impress them, then they're going to walk. And there's no franchise tag in the NBA, so it's you kind of are at the mercy of your star player. And I'm sure this is probably something Luka wanted, but I just started thinking, like, if he couldn't get along with Kristaps Porzingis, who I have no idea, I have nothing to do with his personality. I don't know. I have no idea. But they couldn't get along. They had to ship him out. Like, dude, I know Kyrie Irving's personality just from the media and stuff. Like, this guy seems like a basket case. And I was listening to Bill Simmons' podcast last night, and Ryan Russillo was on. He was like, I would not want to go into business with Kyrie Irving. He's like, I wouldn't even want to like borrow $5 from him. It's like the relationship changes from that point. Like, who knows? Are you going to give it back to him? Is he going to argue with you about it? Like, man, I did enjoy the meme that came out about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, wait till Kyrie realizes that Dallas is where JFK was assassinated. Imagine the research he's going to be able to do in Dallas. Like all these things about. Imagine when he finds out that NASA's in
Oh my
Texas and all
god.
these things. Like he's probably going to take off a couple weeks to go do something crazy there too. Who knows, man? What
I
a
will say
weird
that
career
you're
he's
talking
had.
about the star thing, and then we can, because I don't care to talk about Kyrie Irving. He annoys me. So there's always something. Every month there's something new. So, but you saying about the clock ticking with stars, young stars? Keep going with rookies and drafting rookies and see how long Ja's happy.
Yeah, you're right.
And
I
trading
think
people that
about
he
it.
like Melt. Like him and D'Anthony Melton were probably the closest on that team last year,
Yep,
and was a good young player. And you replaced him with Jake LaRavia. Like,
that boy be hooping though on the
keep
hustle.
doing this every year, and just going. We're great at drafting, and we'll be good because of our drafts. We're going to look up in 2 years if we're not making it past the second round, and he's going to be going. Y'all don't have enough around me.
Yeah, or he feels like he's carrying it all himself. Like
Yeah,
I mean, some guys just want some help. I think you're going to get that with Jaren and Bane, like stepping up and growing into their roles a little more. I think you're ultimately going to end up being like a three-headed monster with those guys, but you're going to need pieces around it. Like you're just going to need it, and we don't have it right now. And I think the clock doesn't seem as threatening with him. Like I really think he's going to go out through this next contract and then sign another one. But maybe by the end of that
I do
next one,
too.
it's different. I don't know.
We'll
So
see.
last thing I want to mention on the Kyrie trade, and it was the rumored offers from elsewhere. We don't have an exact package with the Clippers, but we did get revealed what the Lakers offer was, and it included the 27 and 29 unprotected first round picks, which I thought was a pretty interesting offer. Which I'm assuming Russ would have had to have been at that deal too, which maybe makes sense why they declined it. And the Suns offered Chris Paul, Jay Crowder, and picks. Like, would you have taken any of those offers if you were Brooklyn over that one?
No, I don't think I would take the Chris Paul thing because I think the Nets realize we don't have enough outside of KD. Like KD's not the KD that's going to just carry you to a title anymore. So yeah, maybe we'll still make the playoffs, and we maybe figure it out down the road. Or now we got to trade piece with KD next year, whatever. I think they're looking down the road. And Chris Paul's you're expecting to win a title right now. Like if you're taking that on,
Yeah.
you want to win a title this year. And then Jay Crowder, as you know, we loved him in Memphis. I love the way he plays. He's one of those guys you want on your team as opposed to have to playing against them. But he's a above average NBA player that's on the last few years of his career. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I think they probably took what gives them the best chance to stay competitive now and also get a little bit of future of future picks and also young players that maybe are part of your future. So I think they went right.
I'm probably with it too. And I saw it. I'm like, I think it's nice to possibly have the Lakers 27 and 29 first, but like that's 4 and 6 years from now. Like you
So
don't know what
long,
the Lakers
yeah.
are going to be. They always get stars. So it's like they could be awesome in 4 years and not have any of the same players they have now. And we're talking about like 27 and 29. We're talking about 12 and 14-year olds possibly. Like we just don't know. Like those guys are 12 and 14 right now. I mean, who knows? I I think they probably made the right call. I really do. Somebody's going to bite on those Lakers picks, but think Brooklyn was smart not making it them. I think they also wanted to make sure they had players that could be competitive next year. They didn't
Yep.
want to totally leave a blank slate for 23-24 season.
And Dinwiddie was great in Brooklyn the first go around.
Oh yeah, he was awesome there. All right, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and talk some football and have random questions. All right, we're back and we wanted to talk some NFL here. Some big coaching news. I think these are worth mentioning. We'll kind of be quick with them, but definitely some big news here with Sean Payton going to Denver. Um, already making news today. He locked out Russell Wilson's personal coaches. We said in the press conference that he's not going to allow them to come to the facility, which as a Russell, just standard Russell Wilson disliker and guy who thinks he's like a big nerd. I enjoyed that. I do like Sean Payton, so it's kind of cool to see him. Like, hey, this is how it's going to go. It's me, then it's you. They gave up a first round pick for him, which I mean I know he's awesome, but a first round pick for a coach seems pretty substantial. Do you have any thoughts on Sean Payton going to Denver?
Yeah, I think it's been proven over the past few years that coaching matters more in the NFL than maybe we thought it did. When you had players, the quarterbacks being so good, like when the Peyton Manning thing started, and then that was what quarterbacks did, where they came up and they were changing plays and reading defenses in live time and changing hot routes and different things like that with the receivers and quarterbacks. That was like what you did. That's not so much the case anymore. There's a lot now of the coaches are telling you this is what we're going to do, and if this one thing you see this one thing we're going to change plays, but really it's more like college now. Everything's so there's still hot routes and you still got to read defenses, but they're just so. Um, I think coaching matters so much more now with the way these offenses are set up that you're realizing that it's way more important, like I said earlier, than we used to think it was. And so if you're getting who's probably a top 3 quarterback in the NFL or a quarterback coach in the NFL,
I was like, wait, hold on.
no, if you're getting like a top 3 coach in the NFL, I think that's worth a first round pick. Like he's going to be your coach for the next 10 years. Like you're keeping that guy around, and you see what he did with New Orleans and Drew Brees. I don't think it'll be the same thing in Denver, but I'm not putting anything past them. So I don't think a first round pick is that bad for a top 3 coach.
I'm not sure what else they have. I do know they gave up a ton of picks, like just boatloads of draft capital to get Russell Wilson. And so they might be kind of behind. And we talked about it with the Cowboys. I've mentioned it to you about the Chiefs, like how just the drafted players means so much. Like you got to be able to draft, and that might hurt their team building in the long run, especially with how much they've got committed to Russell Wilson, who did not show that he was anything last year. My belief is that Sean Payton's going to find a way to turn him around. We're not so far removed from Russ being good, if not great, that I can't I feel like he's at least going to get good out of it. And I think if you get good out of the quarterback position there with the defense that they have and a lot of they got some pretty good offensive weapons. If especially if Javonte Williams can come back healthy next year, I think Sean Payton could have some fun with that offense. And I'll say it doesn't quite scare me. It's I don't view them yet as a threat to the division, but it's just another tougher opponent. I don't feel we're going to be able to count them as an automatic win like we have since 2015. No, the Chiefs anyway. I feel like they're going to be in the hunt. Like you're going to see them next year in that hunt for a wild card spot. One of those last couple teams to get in, and maybe better, just because Sean Payton is Sean Payton. Like I think Andy Reid, Sean Payton, Dayball, those are the coaches that I'd want. Maybe Sirianni. I don't know about Sirianni. I'm not really sure. I think he's awesome. You follow him to it. He's one of those follow the abyss guys. It seems like, but like Reid, Payton, Dayball would be 3 of my favorites for sure. And yeah, it makes sense for them for sure.
If
But a
he's your
first round
coach
pick,
for the next
high price.
15 years, 10, 15 years, then the first round pick's nothing. Like if they're still terrible in the next 3 years and you're going, oh, we may have to fire this guy, then that's when the first round pick is looked back on as terrible. So we'll talk about it again. No, we won't. Somebody will talk about it again in 10 years and go, that was worth it or not.
Yeah. If you ask me, like, so Andy Reid was hired by the Chiefs in 2013, and if they had to give him a first round pick, if I knew that now, I said, hey, like, would you trade a first round pick for the 10 years you've
Yes.
had with Andy Reid? It'd be an easy yes. Like,
Yes.
just as long as it
I'd
wasn't
trade
Baker
5
Mayfield
of
got
them.
drafted. Yeah, probably. The other coaching news was D'Amico Ryan's headed to Houston. Like, I'm old enough to remember him as an Alabama linebacker, and it's crazy that he's a head coach. That is one that made me feel incredibly old. And I think Houston has finally ended the cycle of hire and fire, turn and burn they have with Lovie Smith and was the guy they had before that? I can't remember his name. I called him Uncle Dave for some reason. I don't know. He looked like
I
somebody's
don't
uncle.
remember.
I'm sure he was. No offense. You're an uncle. I'm an uncle. you know, I think
No
this is
offense,
the
man.
guy they're going to have long term. And I think he'll be there a while. I think their offensive coordinator hire is huge, especially if they're going to take a quarterback. I don't really know what the offensive coordinator market looks like, but I think this is a crucial thing. Like, you've seen good, talented quarterbacks struggle because they have to switch coordinators so often. If you can get that head coach, offensive coordinator, quarterback marriage right early on, you really have a chance for something great. And if you were Houston and you had your eye on one of these quarterbacks in the draft, who do you like the most?
Could I go off the wall and say I wouldn't draft a quarterback this year?
Yeah,
Again, I don't think it's because one of these quarterbacks couldn't be really good. Like I think Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud both could be. I don't know about Will Levis, but those two I could see being really really good. Um, but I don't think either one of them are like franchise just great top 5 quarterbacks in the league at any given time. I don't think either one of them are that. So to me, I would draft the best player available because not always is the quarterback the best player available. You're just taking them early because you got to take a quarterback, right? Most important
yeah,
position. So I would build out my team and then maybe next year or the year after, go get that young quarterback. And now instead of being that quarterback's 3 years or 4 years into their contract, and now you finally got the team built around them, this player's walking in first, second year, the team's built ready to go. And you're bringing in a good young quarterback. I don't know. I don't think if you bring in a quarterback, they're winning anything in the next 3 years, anyways. Like even
yeah.
if they're awesome, I don't care if you could put Joe Burrow or whoever on that team right now that's still a young quarterback, and they'd go turn it around right now.
It's
So
definitely about more than the quarterback. It's just, I mean, that's
like, I
for
don't know if
sure.
you could put Mahomes on that team in there. They may make the wild card.
It, they're not good. Yeah, they're not good. The defense was better this year. They benefited from the draft capital they got in the Watson trade. I think they have some more picks with that this year. I think they have another
Yeah,
first round pick. So that'll be helpful to kind of build that out, and maybe next year's the year that you chase the quarterback. All right, so this year's quarterbacks. You've got Bryce Young at the top, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson.
yeah. It's
There's others I'm not
after
thinking
that.
of. Would you rather? All right, you got those 4 guys. Would you rather take this year's class or the guy that I'm about to mention? Those guys or Caleb Williams?
Caleb Williams.
Those guys or Drake May?
I would take Drake May this year if he could come out, but yeah, probably Drake May.
Okay, those guys or Michael Penix?
No.
Yeah. He's the 3rd guy off the board
Yeah.
according to
What
next
about
year.
that
We don't
Quinn
know what's
Ewers
gonna
guy?
happen
Isn't he? Can he come out this year?
next year. Quinn Ewers,
Or yeah, next year.
Bo Nix, Jalen
Mm.
Milroe,
But
Kyle
that Quinn
McCord,
Ewers
Jordan
guy was
Travis.
like one of the top rated quarterback prospects like of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I wanna see what he does this year, but yeah,
And if
I think I'd
Texas
probably take
rolls for a full year, like he'll go top 3.
I would
Like if
take
they're
Caleb
awesome.
over those guys. I think this year's guys, it'd be
Yeah.
close on Drake May. It's tough. It's like because it
But you
has to
look
be
at
the
them
year.
about the
Like,
same.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, like Stroud or Bryce Young, and you're not going, oh yeah, I'm taking them immediately over Drake May. So they got to be right here. So why not wait a year?
My feeling on the guy that's going to be the best quarterback out of this draft is that it's going to be Will Levis because no one thinks he's going to be. And that's like, he just has the crazy arm talent. It all depends on where he goes.
Yep.
Like, if he goes to a terrible franchise and he's in, perpetual doom and gloom, his career will be nothing. But if he goes somewhere and gets the offensive coordinator marriage correct, the head coach marriage correct, like, I think the sky's the limit for that dude. He could sit a year, play behind somebody who's decent, and really learn everything. He's got all the talent, and he eats banana peels like whole, and that's just like a savage human being. Like that guy,
Yeah, he's a
like he
weirdo.
eats the whole banana,
He's a weirdo.
the whole banana, man. Like just the whole banana. That's insane to me. That ought
Yeah,
to
I
push
don't
him
want
to
him
the
on my
board no
team.
matter what. Are you sure? You got Dak Prescott. I mean, you take any of these guys.
Yeah, I
You
probably
take
would. You're right.
yeah, Jalen
All right,
Waddle
that's
right.
enough about the Cowboys. Let's keep on going.
It's sore spot. All right, last thing before we move on to random questions. We had some big retirements last week too. Man, so much happened last week. Tom Brady retiring for the second time, 2.0, as I like
Goat,
to say around here.
goat.
He's the best of all time, and like I think you're not having best quarterback of all time like conversations with him. I think you're having best athlete of all time conversations with him. Like best
Goat.
overall football player.
Yep.
You take his career or Jordan's?
Brady.
Really?
Yeah.
Probably would too.
Winning the most. Winning the most. Jordan doesn't have the most rings.
No,
Tom Brady has more rings than every other franchise in the NFL.
it's so crazy.
Like, he's in the most popular sport. He was at the top of it for the longest and won the most championships. I think it's easily hands down. You take his career over any other athlete. I mean,
Yeah.
there's like Serena Williams and some of those, but like that's individual. Tiger Woods, like maybe you take Tiger or Jack, but like as a team sport, if you're taking an individual's career, I think it's got to be Brady.
In the hardest sport to win too. Like it's so hard to
And I
repeat
feel
in the
like
NFL.
him going to Tampa and doing it
Oh yeah.
stamped it even more.
Sore spot. Sore spot. We'll make that go away next week, hopefully. Um, crazy stuff's been happening with him though. Like apparently a young lady bottled up some sand from the spot where he did his retirement video and listed it on eBay. And she was not the only one to do this. I looked it up and like she was the first, and her listing had bids up to $100,000, and I saw at least seven more with bids of at least 12,000. So it was just wild. I think those are probably like bids that are like they're comedy bids. I think they're actually going
I
to
got
sell for
some
that.
oceanfront property in Arizona. That's what I feel like that was.
Yeah, it feels that way.
Like you're getting sold like fairy dust. His butt was in this sand. Gotta have it.
Tom Brady retired right here. This fan.
So stupid.
This is like people have bagged oxygen from events and sold that on eBay.
I was on the
I remember
plane with.
in
Oh my
2001, the Diamondbacks won the World Series. They beat the Yankees, and I remember someone caught Luis Gonzalez was the player. He spit out his gum in the on deck circle, and I guess somebody reached out for grabbed his gum and sold it on eBay.
God. Oh,
Luis
that's
Gonzalez's
nasty.
gum from Game 5 of the World Series or whatever. That's disgusting.
That's nasty.
Come on.
Oh,
He's taking
that's
pictures in his
terrible.
underwear.
Yeah,
Man,
man, he's living his best life. Those are his new
he
briefs.
oh yeah. They're gonna sell like crazy too. Everybody's gonna want a piece of that goat briefs, whatever they're called.
He's so awesome. He's so awesome.
He's something else, man. I there's he's the only one.
He
He
doesn't
didn't have the
care. Like he
cultural
doesn't
impact that
care what
Jordan
anybody
did.
thinks.
No, you're right. No, he doesn't care. He
No,
doesn't have that same like kind of cultural impact that Jordan did. but I think he liked it that way.
Oh yeah, I still think like that's the unpopular opinion. We won't get into it now, but if Jordan didn't have his shoes, he's not Jordan.
I agree
He's
completely.
still one of the greatest. He's still one of the greatest of all time, but he's not this like legend or what. I don't even know what he is at this point. Like he's
Like
not what he
mythical
is.
figure.
Yeah,
It's like gods of Mount Olympus kind of thing. And Michael
yeah.
Jordan
So
feels that way.
yeah, Brady didn't have any of that.
Are you looking forward to seeing Brady as a broadcaster?
I don't know. Like I didn't think Romo would be good when he started, and I'm a huge Romo fan. So you never know. Like he could be great if they let him just if there's no chains, like just go be you. Obviously, he's not gonna cuss and all that, but like just go be you and go dissect football and predict plays and tell us what's going on. But I think I don't know. He's got the personality, but you just never know about these guys. Like you never know how they're gonna be. Who would have thought Troy Aikman when he was coming out was gonna be that good? You know what I mean? And become
Yeah.
who everybody wanted last year when his contract was up. And I think it depends on who he's with. I think that's just as big a part of it as anything is who's the play by play guy.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think there's a chance he's awesome, but you never know. Like Drew Brees stunk at it. I
Yeah.
mean, and I would have told you he would have been good. Like he was a pretty smart, cerebral quarterback, and I mean, had plenty of personality and charisma. Was beloved in the city of New Orleans. Like I was surprised that he wasn't good at it, and his career ended there so soon. The predicament that Fox is going to find itself in is that Greg Olson is awesome. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the new best like TV analyst for football right now, and it would be a shame to see him, lose his spot to Brady. I know Brady's awesome. Brady's great, and nobody will care. But Olsen should have made himself a lot of money. He may end up on a different network with the A-team job. Maybe he's on Amazon Prime instead of Herb Street, who likes to talk about college football all the time on an NFL broadcast. Maybe he's doing Sunday Night Football instead of here's a guy. He's a
Yep.
quarterback. He's good. It's Tyler Huntley. He's a Pro Bowler.
I love Romo. Everybody talks shit. I love Romo, but
I love Romo. Collinsworth.
I vote that they get rid of Collinsworth. Were you doing Romo or Collinsworth?
Oh, Collinsworth.
Oh
I
yeah,
like
I hope we get
Romo.
rid of Get rid of Collinsworth. I'm tired of him.
Yeah. I guess my impression wasn't good if you couldn't figure out the difference between
I
Romo
thought
and Collinsworth.
I thought you were doing Romo. Romo for some reason now sounds like he smokes 5 packs of cigarettes a day.
He's different now. Something's changed. I think he and Nance have kind of lost a bit of chemistry there.
Yeah, I don't think they like each other.
It feels that way. There's been a lot of
I think
reports that
when he got that contract, Nance was a little pissed off.
like it's my show, bro. My show.
Yeah.
He's the only play-by-play announcer that goes down there on the podium. It's usually a sideline guy or a studio analyst that goes down there. I
No,
like it.
Jim Nance isn't a play-by-play guy now. He's just Jim Nance.
Yeah,
Like
it's just Jim Nance.
he's bigger than the play-by-play. He's like people think that they tune in to listen to him. Like if you ask
Yeah,
CBS, you would think that they're going to tune in the Final Four because Jim Nance is there, not because it was North Carolina and Duke playing in the Final Four against each other.
no, Jim Nance.
Yeah, Jim
That's it.
Nance.
One more retirement. This is just kind of honorable mention section of the show. AJ Green retired today, and it's been a while since we've seen it, but his prime was awesome, and unfortunately, kind of marred by injury. He missed a couple of seasons, and but when he was good, he was really good, and he was everything you'd want in a number one receiver. He always seemed to kind of get overshadowed by other stars like Julio Jones or maybe, and I was going to say Devontae Adams. That's not who I'm thinking of, but DeAndre Hopkins. Like some of these guys would overshadow him, and he was consistently in that group of like top 5 receivers, always in that like late second round in fantasy drafts every year. If he was healthy, he was going to produce. He won me a lot of money in daily fantasy and season long fantasy over the years, and I hated to see his career kind of end where he's not doing too much. But man, his peak was insane. He was so good.
Yeah, him and Julio. I remember them in college. It was like these are the two fastest, most physical at the same time receivers. It was like Terrell Owens 5 to what I guess later than that, like, years later, it's like these two guys took what he did to like a whole nother level. They were just faster, bigger, stronger. It was like you took a hybrid tight end and made him a legit number one wide receiver. That's how big and strong those guys were, and could jump, go high point a ball. They could be possession receivers like them. DeAndre, there was just that around that class, those two coming in together. It was a different receiver, and I think they kind of changed the game. Like they don't get credit for it, but just the way they were able to make every play, run routes, they did everything great. So yeah, salute to AJ Green.
Isn't it
Him at
crazy that
Georgia
he had
was
this great career
unbelievable.
with? Oh yeah, isn't it crazy he had this great career with Andy Dalton as his quarterback for like most of it?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm no Andy Dalton hater. He's like he's sneakily like high in a lot of like quarterback record books just because of the era that he played in and how long he played. But I mean, it helped him to have a guy like AJ Green to be able to chuck it to. Hey, AJ down there somewhere. He gonna
got to be
catch
down
it.
there somewhere. Kind of like how
All right, let's
Mahomes
take
is
another
with
quick
Kelsey.
break. Oh yeah, it's exactly what it is. Wait, what did you say?
I said
You made
that's
a
how like
face.
Mahomes is with Kelsey.
Hey, he was like that with
Just
Hill
throw it up.
sometimes.
Kelsey's down there somewhere.
Joe Burrow's like that with Jamar Chase last week.
Yeah,
T.
no.
Higgins. It's nice when you have two guys to do that with.
Yeah.
Also, sneaky thing, the Bengals always have good receivers, it feels like. I'm just thinking
Yeah.
Higgins, Chase,
Hushamanzada.
boy, Ocho Cinco, Hushmanzada you mentioned. Even back in the 90s, you probably don't remember him, but Carl Pickens. It feels like my entire life,
Yeah.
even when the Bengals sucked, they had good receivers.
There's so many good receivers now. I feel like that's the thing about the draft now. You better take a receiver early because it could change
Yeah.
your entire offense.
Oh, yeah. Jamar Chase changed a
So,
lot for them.
yeah. Justin Jefferson, CD Lamb. I mean, there's so many now.
And you can get them in the 20s sometimes, too.
Oh, yeah.
There's some great ones
But you
this
better
year.
get them.
Garrett Wilson.
Yep.
I think Jameson Williams is going to be awesome. There's more for sure. Olave. Lots of
So
them.
many. So many.
All right, let's take a break and then come back and do random questions. All right, we're back to close out the show with random questions. The segment we couldn't name, so we just left it to what it was. Told the truth, just like Mama told us to do. Let's ask each other some random questions. And
Random questions.
I need to clip that soundbite for the next show.
We don't have any drops. Random questions.
Wait.
There it is.
Random questions! Let's go! All right, I'll let you go first last time. I'm going first this time. Here we go. Random question number 1. All right. You can go back and relive one sporting event. What did I do? I'm
Can
trying to
you
get all
hear
serious.
my dog drinking water next to me right now? I can see it picking up on the sound on my screen. I'm like, all you're going to hear in the background at this point in time. So hold on. Now let's ask questions.
Yeah. Maybe question number 1 needs to be what does that sound, bro? Well, you just told us. It's okay.
Oh, man.
All right. We're not editing it out. We're just going to roll with it. Let it be. I saw you giggling
Oh,
laughing over there. And I'm like, what happened, man?
I didn't
We
think you
okay?
could hear, but I could see like the sound popping up where it was picking up in the background. I'm like, Jesus, all right, I'm just
I
gonna
could see
laugh the
you
whole
hear it.
time. All right, I'm good. We're ready.
All right. So you can go back and relive one sporting event that you've been to in your life. You had to have been to it. What event would it be? What event would you go back and relive one that you've been to?
And the outcome's the same and all that. You're not
Yeah,
changing it.
you
You're
can't
just
change anything.
going back and reliving everything about it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I'm like going through like the Tigers, like that 07, 08, because I went to so many of those games, but we went to the tournament game, but I didn't go to the Final Four, so I feel like I wouldn't. there's no game that stands out to me during those years that I'm like, that was fun. Grizzlies games, man, what was it? Game 6? No, game
Mhm.
5 of the Spurs series.
6.
6, that's right, because we were at home.
That's when we
That
closed it
one
out.
and game 3 when Zebo hit the step back. I think it was game 3 when he hit the step back
Woo.
3. That was good. And chanting Zebo going down the stairs was great. But I think as I'm sitting here going through the Ole Miss Memphis game, football 2015, when we beat them at home, went down on the field. Paxton Lynch played out of his mind. I think just as a whole day, we started tailgating that morning. We get in there, we're down 13-0, and we're going like we get in there and it's 13-0. It's like, well, we can probably just go back out to the parking lot. This is going to be over. Kim Dichie gets hurt. Like we stopped him on that 4th and 1. He gets hurt, whatever. And that game just from there on out was a blast. What was the final score? I think it was like 30 something 17. I mean, it was a butt whooping at the end.
Yeah.
And but then just like going out afterwards, we went downtown to the square. Like it was just like that whole day. I think if I could relive the entire day, that's probably it. Probably close second again, Memphis Tiger football. I think just because you have so many people, the SMU Memphis game and college game day, like that whole day too. If you get to relive all of it, those two are probably right there at the top.
I get to relive my favorite part of the SMU game after you've had a few adult beverages, live photo of you raising your arms up in the air. Whoa! And then sitting back down. I need to find a way to get this live photo on the internet. It's the greatest
Could
live
we
photo
can't change the
of
game of
all
the
time.
outcome or the outcome of the game, but can we change the outcome of how I watched the game?
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Can I actually
I
watch
might
the
need to
end?
relive it. Like, honestly,
I remember
it
it.
might help
Yeah,
you
I
remember it.
remember Antonio Gibson returning the kickoff in the second half to start. The rest I remember
Wow,
from recording it.
man, that game was awesome. The environment was awesome. It was just crazy that that could happen for a Memphis and SMU football game.
Yeah,
Mine's more difficult. When I asked this question, I wasn't really prepared enough to answer it. I think I lean more towards Grizzlies games because I was thinking a lot of my greatest like Tiger memories end up in losses. The Final Four, I loved the Final Four. Maybe I could say the UCLA game where CDR dunked all over Kevin Love. That one was pretty great. I was so far away from it though. If I could relive it closer, that'd be cool. But I was so far, like they looked like ants playing from the top of the Alamo Dome. I might as well have been swinging from the rafters. But such a cool experience going down there and being able to walk around San Antonio, which is the absolute most like perfect city for a event like that. I mean, it can host so many people. The Tigers have their own dedicated restaurant. Like we had people come by all the time talking to us. That would be up there if it's not number one. Man, I think my number one is it's got to be Game 6 of the Grizzlies playoff series in 2011. Beat the Spurs, and Zach just takes over that game in the fourth. We're all losing our minds. I think if I'm talking about a single game, that's it. If I'm going full event, I'm probably going back to the Final Four. But there's one I didn't think about until you started talking about Memphis football, and it was when Memphis beat Ole Miss when Eli Manning was the quarterback, and that
at
was another
home or at
big
Ole
one.
Miss.
Yeah, Ole Miss is the common denominator here. Even that UCLA one was really fun. Probably not the very top of it, but still, I think I'm going Grizz Spurs Game 6, 2011, beginning of the good grind era that we all knew and love. I miss those teams.
Yeah, I'm right there. Just the atmosphere when you get almost 65,000 in a stadium compared to 18.5 or 19. Just all of it. And the SMU game more so because it was all Memphis fans. Where Ole Miss, it was like 50-50, which made it enjoyable too because then you just got to talk smack for the entire game and for a while. So that made it fun. But no, I can't go wrong with yours either.
Hey, I got to get off the radar one. You probably know that I did this, but this is maybe 2003 or 4. Can't remember the year, early 2000s. Expos and Braves at Turner Field. Okay. I can just remember sitting there behind home plate with my dad, and still the greatest pitching performance I've ever seen. I don't even know how many runs the guy gave up that night, but it was Bartolo Colon's first start with the Montreal Expos.
Oh,
Fernando
that's cool.
Tatis Sr. was playing for the Expos. Pretty sure he hit a grand slam in the game. And I just remember seeing Bartolo Colon peak at powers behind home plate, like throwing 100-mile-an-hour, 101-mile-an-hour four-seamer when that was a little bit rare. A 98-mile-an-hour two-seamer. It just you could feel it pop behind home plate, and you hear it
Yeah.
like you go get concessions and you still hear it pop, pop, pop. I mean, it was so awesome, and I'll never forget it. We also watched. Do you remember Andres Galarraga?
Yeah.
Him taking batting practice that day, he's like hitting bomb after bomb into the upper left field in Turner Field. Maybe that one because I can't go back and actually see Turner Field, and I don't know. It's an off. It's like the one I put in the top 5. I'm like, oh, just a good memory. But yeah, I'll
Yeah.
never forget the feeling of watching Bartolo Colon pitch from
That's
behind home
cool.
plate. He was awesome. All right, second question. Who's your favorite sports broadcaster? Sport doesn't matter.
You know what popped in my head first?
No,
So maybe this is it.
Michael Cole.
Jr. Jim Ross. Uh, just because like he was literally like the only voice I remember from like a broadcasting voice is like a childhood memory. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
My God, it killed him. Um, but sports, I don't know. Man, that's a
he
tough one.
counts.
The one I probably listened to the most because when I first moved back to Memphis, I didn't have like cable TV. It was before streaming and stuff. So unless I went to a bar to watch the Grizzlies, I would listen to Eric Hasseltine on my phone. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
would listen to him half the games of the year. So 40, 45 games a year, I would just listen to him laying on the couch or laying in my bed. I would just turn on the Grizzlies game and listen, and he's unbelievable. So maybe him, just because that's who I listen to the most.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
But
And there's a lot of good ones.
I'm going with Jim Ross.
I like it. I used him last week, and I got this thing called I think it's called a guasha tool, and it's supposed to like
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is. It's like a little piece of like a hard rock or something like that. And it's like you're like supposed to push it on your face, and it like moves inflammation elsewhere. I don't know where.
Hmm.
So I started like trying to pretend it was a wrestling weapon. By God, it's Bray Wyatt. He's got a guasha tool. Bray
But
Wyatt
like
with a
some,
guasha tool broke him in half.
but what's all? I mean, he's whooping him like a government mule, and
Oh man,
he's gonna stump a mud hole and walk it dry. Like, I mean, there's so many.
I didn't know what the word audacity meant until he said it. The
Yeah,
audacity.
yeah.
Like you could just
Oh
go on
man.
and on for days with JR quotes.
By
My
God,
God,
it killed him. By God.
that's
So
Randy
there's mine.
Orton's music. So cold, so cold.
Stone Cold.
Could have fun just pretending to be. Next podcast is just an all in JR voice.
Yeah, let's do it. You got it.
I think my favorite is oh man, I just had it in my head and I lost it. I think mine's Kevin Harlan. And I'll never forget him saying doink the other night. Dylan
Doink.
Bernard. But my favorite Harlan moment is the Chiefs
Oh, let
were
me
in week
guess.
17.
Is it
Go
the
for it.
cat?
No, that was great too.
All right, go ahead.
All right, Chiefs are in week 17. If they win, I can't remember who they're playing, but if they win their game and the Patriots lose their game, then they get the first round bye. The Chiefs are pulling away. They're up late, and Kevin Harlan is watching the Dolphins and Patriots on the monitor, and is calling the other game. He's calling the Dolphins and Patriots on the Chiefs broadcast. Like that's what I wanted to know. So it was
That
perfect.
is
I was like,
hilarious.
it's the most in touch I've ever seen an announcer be.
That's so
Uh,
funny.
and I just think he's always like a little like over the top,
Oh
charming,
yeah.
like knows his stuff.
It's like
Like
the Vitel thing back in the day, like just so over the top and just there's a personality to it.
he know how to like say something with so few words. Uh, when Ron Artest changed his name to Meta World Peace, and we're watching a Lakers game, and Like basic announcer says, run our test, gets the ball in the lane, 2 dribbles to the right, down the lane. He hammers it home. But he caught it. Well, it was metal work at the time, not run our test. I said it wrong. See, look at me. That's why I'm doing this, not that. But he gets the ball in the wing. Meta's got the ball there, and he just goes, Meta, and he starts driving. World, and he dunks it, goes, peace! It was just like the greatest call of a ho-hum dunk on a Tuesday night regular season game. It was just cool. He
I,
had,
it's funny up
had
until
and
like
still has a way of
up until like 6 or 7 years ago, just because I drive so much and travel so much, I didn't know he did football on the radio.
doing that. Yeah.
And so like I'm just turning on a game and I'm like, oh, I'll just listen to like Monday Night Football or whatever it was, or maybe it was a playoff game. I'm driving, I'll just turn it on and I'm listening to him call it. And I just sat there and listened to him because it was just I didn't care about the game really at all. But it was entertaining listening to him. And actually that was the game with the cat, and then I ended up seeing it on TV. But him
Oh,
calling the
man.
cat in the NFL game on radio was just I mean, it was priceless. It's so good. If you
He's
haven't
great.
heard it, look it up because it is he's the cat, he's down to the 5, 4, 3, 2, touchdown. I mean, it is perfect.
I think he's the absolute best. And, like, it's crazy to me that nobody picks him as their A announcer, but I love him as the B guy. He's great.
Yep.
All right, knock yours out.
All right, my first one. The Pro Bowl was this past weekend. I think they did a better job. I didn't actually get to watch the flag football game, just saw highlights, but them having McAfee and Herbstreit on there, I heard it was really good. But on Friday night, the AFC versus NFC, they played a bunch of just like random games. Like they had like a tic tac toe with the kickers. The quarterbacks did like the little carousel type, thing, and water balloons and dodgeball, all kinds of stuff. A long drive contest. But if you could pick one like sport or game for them to play as a contest, what would it be?
I got 2 thoughts. One of them is something we do at field day at Lake of Prep. The other is just I'd like to see them play like each other's positions. Like I want to see quarterbacks kick, or I want to see kickers play quarterback, or defensive. I want to see Ndamukong Suh throw a pass, or something like that. Let me get Aaron Donald running an out route. That seems fun. Um, maybe the flag football game they have to play different positions. That could be cool. But the one that we play at Lakeland Prep that I think is so fun. It's called water balloon volleyball, and it's not what it sounds like. It's the players are on each side of the volleyball net, and they all have to hold a bed sheet, and they have a volleyball on their side,
Oh,
and they have to fling it over to the other side, back and forth, and like they have to catch it. You have to be able to move your sheet and catch it. I don't know if that'd be fun to watch on TV, but it's so fun to watch the kids do it because they can't do it at all, and like the disaster striking is so great. It's just really fun
that's
to
awesome.
watch. Yeah,
So mine would be, and they would never do it, but so many of these football players are good at basketball, not just good, like great at basketball. To see them do like a 10-minute, 2 halves, 10-minute halves, and do 5-on-5 subs and everything, and get real refs, and let's play a real basketball game. Even if they're not playing much defense, there's just some guys out there that are really good, but I think that'd get everybody that plays basketball wants to play football, and everybody that plays football wants to be good at basketball, and so or good at golf or whatever it is. So them lining up and playing 5-on-5, I think would be really entertaining. They'll
I
never
could
do it
see it.
though because somebody get hurt.
Even if they're like playing horse or something like that, that could be cool.
Yeah, or
I'd love to
dunk
see an
contest or
NFL
something.
Royal Rumble.
uh, so my second one, I just thought about this before we got on, and it's tough. I tried to think about it. I don't know if I still have an answer for it. But if you could guarantee that the Grizzlies win the NBA title this year, but in return, they will never win another one in your lifetime, would you take it?
That's tough. I've asked myself the same thing with the Chiefs, but now that they have one, I'm greedy and I want more. I tend to feel like, I mean, do I get? do I know it's coming and I know they're going to win, or like do I still get to
Or just
experience
say
the
over the next
emotion of
5 years,
winning?
you guarantee 1 year that they're going to win it, or whatever. They're going to win it, but recently, like in the next couple years, they're going to win.
Okay, that changes it a little bit.
Because
I
if you know it's coming, that ruins
yeah.
But
Hmm. The Grizzlies feel like a team that's going to win one. Like it doesn't feel like a team that's going to have like a sustained warrior model and be there like 4 out of 7 years or anything like that. I think we're more than likely going to win one. Maybe you get to two, something like that. So if I can guarantee it, yeah, I'd do it. I This is my reasoning. This is my thing that makes me go back to it. That makes me choose that is because how often I revisit the '07, '08 Final Four with the Tigers in my mind, and they freaking lost, and like in horrifying fashion. Like it's still talked about as being a brutal thing, but I had the freaking time of my life, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I mean, I wish we won, but I mean, the memories there are just incredible. So I guarantee one. Yeah, I'll take it. What about you?
yeah, I would. When we were sitting here, because I thought, like I said, I came up with a question and probably came up with the answer just a little bit ago, just thinking about it here and there. But yeah, I would take it. Like even if you guaranteed me this year, like it was going to be this year, and I knew it, I'd still take it. Like I don't think like there's teams that go 50, 60 years. That's what you're talking about over the next 50, 60 years that don't win it. And you're being a small market NBA team, your chances are lower than probably half the league. So
Yeah,
yeah, I would take it. If you guarantee me this year, I'd take it. My question, what I was thinking before that, before I came up with this one, was I was gonna put you in a tough bind. Would you take the Chiefs winning on Sunday and the Grizzlies not winning a title? Like guarantee they're not gonna win one. Or if the Chiefs don't win this Sunday, but you could guarantee a Grizzlies title over the next couple of years, which one would you take?
it's really tough. That is tough.
And it was really just to put you in a major pickle. I was just
I
wanting to
see
put
what
you
you
in a
did there.
pretzel.
I see what you did there. I don't know if I could bend into a pretzel if I tried right now, but I could eat them.
Mod pretzel.
Um, let's see. I'll be a pretzel stick, just a round one. I think it had to be the Grizzlies,
Yeah.
just because I think the playoff ride is so much more fun. Like in the NBA, like getting all the way there, it's a freaking month and a half. It's a long
And you can
time.
play almost 30 more games in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
and I can actually go to the parade and the championship
Yeah.
game. Like I can go to it. I can be a part of it. I'm going to feel a part of it. We're going to remember that in our city for the rest of our lives.
Yep. Oh, I
Um,
agree.
dude, my
But with it
favorite.
being so close to the Super Bowl, though, like you're 6 days away, that was what was like, oh, well, it's right here, though. Like I'm there.
If they lose, you might get a bag of poop delivered to your door by an anonymous mailer.
Well, I'll
Just
send it back
for
to
this
you when the
question.
Grizzlies win in June.
I mean, I'll take it. I mean, at that point, I'll know what it's for. I guess you will too. I owe you Yingling and probably now a bag of poop if they lose. God, man, can I have both?
I put that juju on you. Well, another one way that say was if the Chiefs win, the Grizzlies can't win it, but you're not guaranteed one.
I've already got a Chiefs one. Everything from now on is gravy. Like, I mean,
No,
everything
you
Mahomes is
just
gonna.
said you got to have it. Like you just said, you're greedy.
Oh, I'm greedy. I want it. But if I'm able to back up and have some perspective, then I mean, yeah, I can appreciate the fact that we had one. And I could think back to the rest of my life as a Chiefs fan. We hadn't won a freaking playoff game until Avery was born in 2015. Like that was the first playoff game we'd won since I was like 6. I
I'm
barely
with you.
remember that one. So,
I'm with you.
I mean, this success is great. But man, I don't know. That's a tough one. I want the Chiefs to win every year, but I've already got one, and if that's the only one you ever get, I'll remember it for the rest of my life. I freaking cry when it happened. So it's like it was such a big deal. I'll always remember it. I'm looking at a newspaper from them winning the World Series. I'm looking at the Cubs World Series. I'm looking at the Chiefs one of them winning the Super Bowl, and like I'm never gonna forget it. The Chiefs did not win the
Absolutely.
World Series. What am I saying? It's 10 o'clock at night. We got to stop, dude. Come on.
And we went for an hour and a half again.
We're going to go 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
40 minutes tops. Easy this time.
Easy. It's going to take 4 hours to upload. Let's have fun. Illinois
Go set it next to my
Internet.
router.
Freeburg ain't got it yet. Illinois Internet. Freeburg ain't got it yet.
Got to go put my computer next to my router so it gets a little bit faster speeds.
Plug that joker in, man.
I'll find a.
Hey, we're going to do another episode later this week, right?
Yep.
Super Bowl preview, trade deadline review.
Bring your menu for the Super Bowl and bring in mine.
Hey, yeah, let's go. Let's go. Hey, I'm going to the Grizz game Friday night, and hoping I see a new player or two.
Maybe not Friday night. They may depend on when we make the trade. Don't think they're making it. So have fun watching Dylan Brooks.
Maybe I'll sell my tickets.
Peace out.
No, I'm not. I'm going to go. Date night. All right, man. Peace and love.